Our spiritual yearning is actually our intuition of another reality, or a real reality, I should say. The yearning itself arises because that greater reality is already starting to assert itself upon our egoic state of consciousness. We don't even really feel a spiritual yearning until the infinite is already starting to assert itself, until it's already to some degree starting to arise in our consciousness. The first indication that the infinite is starting to arise in our consciousness is our yearning for the infinite. The yearning itself will be an indication that it's beginning to arise. And so there's no quick way to deal with this. There's no way to just sidestep the fear. As I said, at some point, you will be ready and you will face it. And you will, whatever it seems to be threatening you with, you will not turn away until it really can't threaten you with anything. Which doesn't mean that you're not scared. It just means you don't turn away. If you don't turn away, then the fear itself you just move through it. It just can pop like a bubble pops. Like a dream pops when you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize, oh, I've been dreaming.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, the reason, I picked that clip was the yearning. I remember as I slowly started to come into these concepts is when I, during my work life, during my personal life, during my life with my family, friends, I kept, there was this, there's something more to this, this feeling that was going on in me, at all times. And I feel like, definitely if you're watching this video right now, that is a sense of yearning within you,
Well, you just have nothing better
to do. but you don't just kind of just start, I'm going to go Google consciousness for fun, type of thing. So I remember, as I started to get into these, concepts of consciousness, the self, I had this immense yearning for this more. There was more to what was going on in this experience. It could not just be this cut and dry. All right, today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm upset. I need to make money. I got to do this humdrum lifestyle. And that's what was a big deep dive into these these consciousness concepts for me, which was a yearning for something more. That, tagged with, what he's talking about with fear is anything outside of us that is different that we haven't experienced before, or something that, is unknown to us, we often steer away from. And it's because we don't know how to navigate it. We've never been in that position before. So our subconscious, mind wants to keep us comfortable, wants to keep us cozy. And so it's the type of thing where it's, oh, you don't like that, or, oh, this is, not for you. When in reality, it's very far from that. It's, in fact, just something you have yet to experience. And so to move into that, like Adya was just talking about, the bubble pops. And this sense of fear, this idea of fear, was really just something you did not know, and there's nothing to fear at all. In fact, as soon as you do move into it, or as soon as you do give it a try, pop goes this illusion that, it was or is scary.
Yeah, and for me personally, I remember, I remember even as a young kid, I always wanted to present publicly and stuff, but I was scared. I avoided and evaded public speaking for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, very long time. Actually, the first time I really did, I'll tell you a funny story. I might have told you a story before, but when I was a senior in high school, one of my English classes was media experience, and at the final was a presentation I had to do, and I did this with the music.
I remember that. This is a good story. You got to tell this.
So I went into a studio, and I played I created a song. Mm-hmm. So I laid down, I think it was 5 tracks, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and vocal. And what I did is the way I presented is I played each track individually and then collectively all together as the actual song. But because I was like realizing, I'm like, I got so involved in this thing, I was excited about it. Then I'm like, damn, I got to present this in front of a class. And I was like, I do not want to do this. I remember looking at it was actually my guitar teacher's studio. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, why don't you just make a 6th track? I'm like, what? He goes, the 6th track could be the presentation. You just go and sit in the studio and present it. I'm like, all right. So it was a really cool idea, although my English teacher didn't care for it. So I remember going up in front of the class. I put my cassette tape in.
Hell yeah.
And I pressed play, and I went to sit down, and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? You know? And I'm like, wait. And it's like, then you're on the, hi, my name's Frank Daly.
That's so funny.
And I got away with, like, I avoided the presentation part of it, and everyone was laughing because it was kind of funny.
It is. You skirted around it.
Yeah, but then I remember one time I was getting, I was hired by this company to do, I'm in the hair business, so I got hired by this company to do stage work, like cutting in front of people, and so you go to these conferences, and when I first started doing this, you go to these conferences, there was like every company was there. They rent out the JPEG Javits Center, the Staples Center in LA.
Big,
yeah. So big place. So you go there, and every company's there. So they got these big stages. So I remember getting the gig, and I remember right when they told me I had it, they said, okay, you're going to Vegas 4 weeks from now. So like a month. And so, all right, okay, you'll have 2 slots, each of them like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And roughly it's going to be anywhere from 500, 600 people. When they said that, now I'm in front of people that I know presenting, and I didn't have a problem with that. Although I did feel nervous when they told me that. I'm like, "What, are you kidding me?" Do you know what I did? Like the next day, like literally the next day, I joined freaking Toastmasters.
Oh yes. You told me.
So
about
I'm
this.
like, oh my god, because I didn't want to give this up. Well,
explain what Toastmasters is.
It's a public speaking forum. You go in. It's kind of like a. It's really interesting. Yeah,
you get together with the intention to put yourself
public
in a
speaking,
situation,
and it's very well
to speak.
organized. It's so no matter where you go, it's almost like it's very well organized. They track the time and everything, and you can actually just sit there and present anyway. So it's about how you're presenting, not really what you're talking about at the time at the beginning. But what he was talking about, so. Yeah, I went to Toastmasters. I was literally like 3 weeks prior to this thing, and I was going 1 day a week. It wasn't like I tackled this thing, mm-hmm. But to me, it was like I have to do something. So, I was doing something in the interim of me showing up, relieved me of the anxiety, because I think I would have just said, you know what, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before, like I did in high school. I found a way around it, but this wasn't going to work. I had to be in front of people. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget, I get out there, and there was a stylist before me. When I presented, came after him. I went out, and I was nervous as all hell. But then I started talking, and I said something quick off the cuff like I've always done, and everyone just started laughing. And then that was the pop for me. That fear dissipated. And then I realized, not just to get over this, I loved public speaking. I loved it. So the goal here isn't to head into something that you don't want to do. Like if public speaking is not in your form of life, that's not a fear. It's like having a fear of heights when you're standing on the ground. Like that's just absurd. You don't need that. Mm-hmm. But if you want to be high up, if you want to be on the top story of a building, you better get over the fear of heights, so to speak. For me, I wanted to present, and when that popped on stage, something overcame me. It doesn't now. Granted, every time I did it after that, I was nervous, but a little less nervous. Now I don't get nervous because, I understand I don't prepare myself for speaking anymore. When I prepare myself, I always got nervous because I'm like, I hope I don't forget what I'm going to talk about. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about to even forget about what we're going to talk about.
But again, you now are comfortable with moving into that unknown.
Yes.
And that kind of allowed you, that pop that you're talking about, that Adia is talking about, that we all have those in a number of different facets throughout our life.
Yeah, and there's still a little bit of this butterfly type thing when I go into a talk because I don't know, but I don't let it stop me. Actually, I dive into it now.
I relabel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of, oh, this is anxiety, this is this. Well, this is excitement. This
Yeah.
is generating this.
It's excitement. It's almost like the way like I said, I would talk to people about that. Like, I always feel this feeling like, well, it's like a drag car. I'm like, what do you mean? They rev the engine up, hold the brake down before they pop the clutch, so the car can go. When it takes off, it's ready to go. But if you wait to the green light to start hitting the gas, you lost the race. So prior to getting out on stage, you feel this anxiety, like, I want to get out there, I want to get out there, I want to get there. Hold it. Bam, once you're out there, then you let the energy go. So it's called the inertia period, or what I call the G-force period. So when I look at it that way, I'm like, yeah, this is normal. This is how it's supposed to be. I'm revving up the engine, just like an airplane taking off. I can feel the G-force. Mm-hmm. But once I get up and I'm up to 30,000 feet, I feel nothing. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, wow. But I need that feeling to get to here. So I bring that on. If I just go out and have that feeling, the talk is going to be very like, hi, how's everyone going?
But this is why public speakers, too, kind of amp themselves up.
Yeah.
You'll see them have a little trampoline in back or whatever. They just kind of get their energy going. Yet, what, like, you just described it perfectly with the G-force. You have this like sensation and feeling, and you need a way to kind of get it out.
Yeah, and then
so you need some movement. That's why bands or artists, they have warm-ups, etc., before they go on stage, or routines.
Well, this happens everyday life. Like, people going to work. I'm like, you have this anxious feeling. I'm like, because you're not at work yet. I'm like, in your mind, it's like work, and you're like, I'm driving. And that's where, when you actually understand you're not at work, you can slow down that anxiousness. Because again, you don't want to blow the engine at the starting line. Yeah. You can do that too, and that's what happens a lot of times.
That's a lot of us do.
Yeah, so when you learn to throttle better, you get better at it. All of a sudden, like, I'm in the car, I can't worry about work right now. It doesn't mean you turn around and go home. It just means you don't get anxious to the point where you can't handle it. Because there is a fine line of how much too much anxiety to excitement. Excitement and anxiety are the same field of energy, just a different filtration.